Out of the entire ocean, there's one small stretch of reef that's become the most significant place in the world of surfing. The Bonsai Pipeline. I've seen a lot from the lifeguard tower at Ehukai Beach Park. Over 4 decades of swells, rescues, and a front row seat to the best surfers in the world. For me, like many others, it's sort of like a second home. These contemporary artifacts bring back memories of the past, my own history of the pipeline, and my love of surfing. This is the story of the most dangerous, challenging, and rewarding wave in the history of surfing, and the men and women who shaped how it was ridden. This is the story of the pioneers of pipeline. There's something to be said about first. And for pipeline, that was Phil Edwards. Before my time, pipeline was thought to be unrideable. An untamable force of nature. But like most things thought impossible, it was only a matter of time before a matador entered the bull ring. A 10-foot self-shaped single fin was Phil's projectile of choice. For the time, it's not like there were any other options. He yearned for glory, but was stoked on survival. The unrideable wave had been ridden, although far from tame. Phil didn't know it at the time, but he had just changed the world of surfing forever. Before Jerry, there was Butch. I heard the stories that Butch was the first guy to peek behind the curtain, the first to paint on the cave walls and make it out alive. Then came John Peck. The 17-year-old from California was known for surfing fast and loose, but when he created the now infamous backside rail grab, he took what was thought to be a disadvantage at pipeline, and instead, he opened the door for all regular footers. The potential of pipeline was being realized, but not without its test pilots and their gear taking their fair share of lumps and bruises. But when Jock Sutherland showed up one day with a shortboard in hand, things would never be the same. If it's true that greatness attracts greatness, then maybe that's how Jerry found the pipeline. It was the forefront of the shortboard revolution, the season of the Soul Surfer, and the crowning of Jerry Lopez as Mr. Pipeline. He was by no means the inventor of style, but he was undoubtedly its master. There is an ease in their relationship, drawing new lines while transcending time behind the curtain. And with a lap or two around the sun, and a few shots heard round the world, he single-handedly invented big barrel tube riding. And this time, the world came knocking. By the mid-70s, a whole new cast of international characters landed on the North Shore. Inspired by the generation of Jerry, Roy Russell, Jackie Dunn, and Jeff Crawford, a brigade of Australians and South Africans made their way into the lineup with a one-track mindset: be the best guys at pipe and backdoor by any means necessary. With a new and aggressive and powerful style, Sean Thompson and Rabbit Bartholomew led the charge. The power fist replaced the soul arch, and the dawn of the professional era began. But it wasn't until Spider Murphy shaped Sean, the infamous rockered out pink banana, that a whole new set of possibilities opened up at pipe. And when the 1975 Pipe Masters came around, Sean beat out Jerry Lopez to win the contest, proving that you no longer had to be a stylish, goofy footer to be the best at pipeline. But if you thought some extra rocker changed things, wait till you see what comes next. In surfing, there's often a single defining moment that changes everything. At Pipeline, this was exactly the case for the thruster. Pro surfer and shaper Simon Anderson was the first to add that fateful third fin to his board design, winning contests in Australia before shipping off to Hawaii to try his strange new design on the North Shore. Most thought it was a gimmick, too squirrely to hold up in big surf. And then the swell hit. It was some of the biggest conditions I'd ever seen at the Pipe Masters, and Anderson didn't flinch. He made it all the way to the finals, where with one wave and a backside line that had never been traced by a single fin before it, he silenced the critics and won the contest. And just like that, the thruster was here to stay. If you were to think that only surfers had pioneered the Pipeline, you'd be missing a huge part of the story. I've known Mike Stewart for decades, and I think most in the surfing community would agree. He's the most tubed man alive. Most widely known for his bodyboarding victories around the world and his big wave achievements, he's also an amazing and passionate body surfer. At Pipeline, I hope it's not controversial to say this, but for my money, I think he's the best to ever ride it. All wave riders owe a debt of gratitude to an unreal waterman and an even better human. In life, there's always sort of a give and take, a yin and yang. And at the Pipeline in the late 80s, that was Tom Carroll and Derek Ho. Derek was a local legend, destined to be Hawaii's first world champ. The younger brother of Michael Ho, he was a savant at Pipeline. Derek had this unique combination of modern aggressive surfing with that casual Hawaiian style from the past. And then on the other side of the coin, you had Tom Carroll. What Derek had in style, Tom had in power. Carroll took off later and deeper than anyone in the lineup. Good thing he started wearing that helmet. Both in their own way, there was no question that these guys were the two best surfers at Pipeline. But their influence would ripple through a whole new generation of pipe surfers who were just starting to join the lineup.
We've been buried in them and the reality of making them real for so long that it's easy to forget sometimes just what a massive set of regulation changes these 2022 rules represent. I've been working in the sport for over 30 years and they dwarf anything else I've ever seen. I suspect if I were to dig out Wikipedia and go through every season of the sport that there's ever been, there would be nothing to match the scale of the change that comes with 2022. The rule set is not only enormous, the regulations are about twice the size of what's preceded them, but they're all almost entirely different from what came before them. And that has meant that we've had to reinvent the car tip to toe. Everywhere you look, it's completely new. Not just new as in new parts, but new as in completely new philosophy. A completely different aerodynamic package, different brakes, different wheels, crucially different tyres. And even the engine, one of the things that is less touched by the regulations than many, even there, the engine has to be, or the power unit has to be prepared so that it can be frozen for 3 years. All the goodness that you can possibly pack into it has to be packed into it now or forever hold your peace, because after that, changes will be very, very difficult to make real. So it has been incredibly hard, very challenging and long to get our heads around this and to try to figure out what the best response is to these regulations and where the opportunity is to be found in order to put a car on the track in a few short weeks from now that gives us a chance of being competitive right from the beginning. This new rule set has been quite a long time in the making. It was first proposed as a set of objectives way back in 2017, I think, when Ross Brawn, the technical director of Liberty back in the day, were to have cars that would be capable of closer racing from the front of the grid to the back of the grid. So instead of the 2 to 3 seconds that divide the front from the back today, they hoped for a much closer grid. Often suggested that maybe compressing it all into 1 second would be a more exciting formula than the one we've been used to. But not just compressed front to back, but also a format of car that would allow the cars to race more effectively with one another on the track and to permit an easier and more natural form of overtaking than we've been used to in Formula One in recent seasons. And then finally, for those cars to be more affordable for all the teams in the grid, whatever budget level. Those were the sort of headline objectives of this regulation. And I guess those are the reasons why this big change. They wanted to simplify aspects of the sport from a technical perspective so that teams of a wider range of budget levels could have a sort of equal opportunity at those regulations. And the reason that the entire regulation set on the aerodynamic side has been so substantially revamped was to try to create an aerodynamic configuration that would slip through the air in a less messy fashion, allowing a car that follows another car to be less disturbed by having that car in front of it. And that's not an easy nut to crack, certainly not easy to tweak the existing regulation set to try to deliver that. And so there was a decision taken by Liberty and by the FIA that they would have a wholesale reworking of the regulations to try to create that configuration. That's sort of why we're here. That's why this regulation is so big and so different to everything that preceded it. Whether or not those objectives will be realized in this new formula, well, that's a very different question. And time will tell. Time will tell. They are very ticklish problems and not at all easy to solve via technical regulation. It's an interesting experience being a team member at a time of great change like this for the sport, because as well as being members of a team, we're fans of the sport. All of us love Formula One. We wouldn't have got into it if we didn't. And so these high-level objectives are ones that of course we share. We love the idea of close racing. We love the idea of cars being able to duke it out with one another, hammer and tongs every track in a way that has completely compelling viewing for all of us. As fans, all of us want that. But as team members and as teammates to each other, we just want one thing. We want a competitive car, a car that will be at the front of that gaggle of fighting cars. And yeah, if the racing's great behind us, brilliant, but we only want to be at the front of it. And that will be true for every team on the grid. So we approach a regulation set like this, not with a view of whether or not it will deliver on its objective. We just take the regulations as they're written and try to figure out how to make the car as fast as we possibly can. And when the regulations change in such large measure as these ones, well then we approach that with all the fun and relish that challenge deserves, because our job is to look for technical opportunity in regulations and then use our combined wit and skill and all the effort that we make collectively to try to find a configuration of car that will be better than anyone else's approach to it. And when everything is as new as this, then everywhere you look in that regulation set, twice as thick as the old one, there's opportunity. There's opportunity and of course there's jeopardy. And we try to pick our way through the potential minefield and picking up all the little boxes of treasure that may be set in amongst the landmines to end up with a car that we hope will see us pitching at the front of the grid. It's not unique to Mercedes to be excited about a regulation set, but it is something I can speak of with the personal experience of having been a part of this team, that we do love it when new regulations come along. We see it as an opportunity to show that we haven't just been lucky over the years. We haven't merely stumbled into a formula. It's often talked about as the turbo hybrid era, as if we sort of stumbled into some God-given right to have been dominant all these last seasons. We see every single regulation change as an opportunity to pit our wits against them and see whether we actually deserve still to be competitive, to see whether or not we can show afresh that we've understood the physics behind the car, that we've tried to translate that into designs and concepts that we then realise in manufacturing and then deliver to the track in a way that allows us to be competitive once more. All of us give our working lives to this sport and quite a lot more besides, and the validation of knowing that you can pick up a set of regulations like this and work with them. When that's realised, it's a brilliant feeling, and it makes all the hard work, and there is a measure of sacrifice to it as well. It makes all of that entirely worthwhile. You get way more payback from feeling like you've done a good job than you do suffering from all the effort that went into providing that good job. So this team does have a culture that treats such opportunity with excitement and pleasure, and a chance to demonstrate to ourselves that we hopefully are not bad at doing racing cars. And putting my fan's hat on and trying to anticipate what we can expect when the racing starts, well, that is a difficult thing to anticipate in terms of what the pecking order will be. It's a difficult thing to anticipate in terms of exactly how everything will play out, but it's a brilliantly exciting thing to contemplate, precisely because none of us know. One of the things that is the essence of sport is not knowing. We, all of us, have done our level best. I'm talking about everyone in our team, everyone in every other team will have done our level best to try to find a design and an approach that will be a happy match to this new regulation set. And we'll all get to find out together at the start of this season, in the races that unfold from there, exactly how that shakes out. I would imagine, given that the cars are so new and so different, that one or two cars on the grid will have got it really badly wrong, and that they will have a terribly painful year. I would imagine that all of us, to some degree, will have left things on the table that we just didn't anticipate, and we will look at other cars and think, oh, why didn't we think of that? And then we'll be scrabbling around to try and get that idea onto our car as fast as possible, so that we can claw our way from whatever position we land in that first race, so that we can claw our way forwards, or if we're lucky enough to be in front, to keep the attacking wolves behind us. It's going to be quite a rush, and definitely something that's going to keep us all from having too much sleep for the whole of the season.
My name is Lauren Ross. I am an Olympic ski racer and I'm an artist. I find many things inspiring about winter sports, but primarily I find the community inspiring and kind of the natural aspect of winter sports. The Olympic values inevitably influence my artwork because I am always pursuing excellence in pretty much everything I do. I'm kind of a perfectionist. So in the process of making these artworks, I have really tried to create with a lot of freedom and not really have too much of a plan. All of my base images are film photographs. Most of them are double exposures. And then from there, I will take a bunch of other film photo images that I've taken and sort of collage them onto the base image. As well as I've been using a lot of athletic figures on my pieces and trying to collage them within this whole scope of the scene. I guess the concept behind all the images is sort of similar. It is about community and friendship. The fun element in my work comes from a sense of wanting to play for me. Being an Olympic athlete of any kind in any sport is a really difficult, serious thing, and it's hard to remember that we're doing it for fun.
February 18th, 1885. Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, one of the great American novels, is first published in the United States. 1861, months before the Civil War breaks out, Jefferson Davis is sworn in as President of the newly formed Confederate States of America. 1970, 5 of the Chicago 7 defendants are found guilty of conspiring to incite riots at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The convictions are later overturned. 2001, veteran FBI agent Robert Hansen is arrested, accused of spying for Moscow for years. At first, Hansen pleads innocent, but then changes his plea to guilty, and he's sentenced to life in prison. Also that same year,
we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
In Florida, auto racing star Dale Earnhardt Sr. dies from injuries received in a crash at the Daytona 500. He was 49. And in 1954,
I work on my hair a long time, and you hit it. He hits my hair.
Actor John Travolta, whose movie roles include Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and Pulp Fiction, is born in Englewood, New Jersey. Today in history, February 18th, John Belmont, The Associated Press.
Welcome back in our studio, and in today's news,